Welcome everyone. Step right up, step right up. Grab your popcorn, grab your peanuts, grab your cocktail or your coffee, water, whatever you think that you need for this story. We are going to be covering the Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby Frankie updates, along with some shocking details that came out from Channel 2 on Utah. So let's go ahead and get everything started, you guys. The show is about to begin.
It's absolutely free on the inside. A Cupid now for a dime. Step right in. Post your photo in 5 minutes. Step right in.
I'm in the night. Let's spark a light and see where it leads. Just you and me, hiding behind the curtain. A world so uncertain. Come and see where this leads. Circus. Circus.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone, and good evening. Good evening. We are here to talk about the Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby Frankie updates. There have been some shocking details that have been released. I have been streaming pretty much every day to share those with you. But tonight I have some special guests that I wanted to get their opinions on things and see how everything is, everything is unfolding. There's been some, just some really, really disheartening and really sad and, really appalling things that have been released in terms of Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrandt. If you guys are not aware, Ruby Frankie was a mommy influencer here on YouTube, has 6 children. The name of her previous channel was called 8 Passengers. It has been removed to date from YouTube. And she then, she stopped posting in 2021. And she now she then actually, let me back up. So she had the 8 Passengers channel. Hi. She, I forgot to turn on my camera. How about that? So anyway, she had a channel here on YouTube, 8 Passengers. She has 6 children. And she was doing a mommy blogging type of channel, which she was basically just sharing her parental theory and methods along with her family and her husband, Kevin Frankie. She had a channel. The channel originated in 2015 and then was active until I believe sometime in 2021. There's a little bit of a roughness there, like in terms of the time frame. So we're not quite sure when she actually technically stopped posting. But basically, she stopped posting her family content in 2021 and then paired up somehow with this Jody Hildebrandt. Now, Jody Hildebrandt is a licensed therapist that provides counseling services for the Mormon Church in Utah and has a very high status there, high rank in terms of helping and counseling families for the Mormon Church. So somehow Kevin and Ruby Frankie were referred to this therapist we now know as Jody Hildebrandt, who has a long-standing history. She's actually in a lot of trouble at this point, but they are being very light on her because she is politically connected. So I do want to make that a point if those of you that haven't heard this yet. She is connected to the Attorney General's office in Utah. So I just kind of want to bring a little of context of what we're going to talk about tonight. So basically at this point, they paired up with Jody. Jody shared her parental methods of, what she calls therapy. And so Ruby Frankie and Kevin Frankie started exercising these types of therapy methods with their family. And the kids, started seeing a different light and their lives started changing. And then as Ruby Frank got closer to Jody Hildebrandt, then her marriage also got affected to where Kevin Frankie, her husband, was then cast out of the home and ended up moving somewhere else. And the children stayed with Ruby Frankie. So this is a timeline to kind of let you guys know if you haven't kept up with the case. And so here we are. Fast forward to when they actually decided to put a business together, which was called Connections. It was a duo teaching parenting hacks and tricks and skills or whatever. They did this on a formal level, which they started a Instagram as well. And on Instagram, it's called Moms of Truth. And that is still active. So I kind of want to bring again a little context to this story because a lot of their social media in terms of Instagram is still active. A lot of videos they did, a lot of clips they did, and so on and so forth. So that should bring a little bit of context as to where Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby Frankie got paired up. And so through their relationship, it has been shared that Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrandt are kind of, it's all speculation because it hasn't been confirmed, but I think a lot of people, believe that they had some kind of romantic relationship. And so as this pressed on and they had this social media thing going on and they had this, therapy schooling going on or whatever, um, Ruby Frankie had then given permission to Jody Hildebrandt to start disciplining the children. And eventually, Ruby Frankie moved out of her home and started living with Jody Hildebrandt, which therefore 3 of the children were discovered at Jody Hildebrandt's home. This happened on August 30th, 2023. And they were arrested. They were arrested for suspicion of child abuse. The neighbors had called, family was concerned of all of these extreme different types of, therapy methods that they were imposing on their personal family life. And so if you're rough on this, Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby Frankie were arrested at her residence, while the 3 children that were discovered and that they are being accused of abusing at this point were located at Jody Hildebrandt's residence. So I want to make that clear because we're going to be covering an article that was released, I believe it was the 20th. So the 20th of September 2023. I don't believe it was released on the 21st. I think it was released on the 20th. So new details have now come out because some of the records are now being released. So these are public documents showing affidavits of different, details that happened on that specific day. So as time goes on, I'm sure we'll find out more. But I do have 2 guest speakers on tonight that I want to hear their opinions on everything because I have been speaking on this story now for about a week. I've had this channel for quite some time. I covered the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case. If you're not familiar, I do have other channels here on YouTube and I participate in other genres, but this is very important. I also cover pop culture and so on and so forth. This podcast is going to originate its own destination, which we are streaming on both channels right now. So if you guys want to go ahead and check out the description box and go ahead and subscribe to the Circus of Fuckery YouTube channel, we would love that because we will eventually be migrating this podcast over there. They will guest speak now and then. So I usually run this channel on my own, but I'm very excited to hear their opinions on this. So to date, let's talk about today in September 22nd, 2023. They are, Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby Frankie are still incarcerated. Their bond hearing will be October 5th, 2023. But new details have been released via Channel 2 in Utah. An article came out. We're going to cover that article. I'm going to introduce the girls in just a moment, and they can introduce themselves one by one. And then I am going to read the article that we're going to be discussing tonight, and we're going to get their opinions and thoughts on this story and where we are to date. I have been trying to fill in the girls as much as I can. They are busy during the day, so I don't know if they're caught up as much as me, but they did appear with me earlier in the week this week on this story. The story is very hard to hear, so I will give all of you a trigger warning that some of the details we're going to read in this article are very disturbing. They are very upsetting. They are very, I just want to kind of let you guys know that so that, you guys are prepared if you haven't heard these details yet. So let's go ahead and bring in one of our very first speakers tonight. And her name is Mel, and she has a channel here on YouTube. and I will link her information below in the genre that she participates in. But tonight we're going to hear a lot of her perspective, her thoughts and opinions, because she does work for a nonprofit organization where she helps a lot of families in need, and she is also a chaplain. So that gives new perspective on commenting on the story and hearing her thoughts about this case. It's all over the news, you guys. It is international at this point. It's been on every news outlet, you name it. People, even Vogue, I think, covered it. Page Six, all the major news outlets, CNN, Fox News, Law and Crime, Court TV. It's been everywhere because social media is involved. So let's go ahead and bring Mel in, and let's see how she's doing tonight. Hello, Mel. How are you? You're muted. You're correct. Yeah.
I'm still getting used to this whole podcast thing. So I'm like, oh, hey, what's going on? But yeah, I didn't realize I was muted. And I feel like this is like in my face. Is the microphone?
Yeah, you want to lower it, like grab the arm and pull it underneath a little bit under your mouth. Yeah, there you go. Underneath,
handy.
like, see this? See how
Oh.
it has an arm? Yeah, you pull it down underneath your arm. I mean, underneath your mouth a little bit. All right.
Is that better?
So yeah. Well, you're a little bit low. I'm not quite sure why your mic is so low. Let me see if I can adjust it from my end before you start speaking, so the good people can hear you. Let me see if I can. Edit your mic a little bit. Okay, go ahead, speak, please.
Is that better?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm manually going to turn up your mic a little bit so we can hear you. All right, audience, let us know if you can hear her okay, or if she's still a little faint, and I'll work on it. All right, so here we are.
I'm sorry. Ethan's here, Megan's son, and my dog is obsessed with him. So she wants to play with him so bad. So I think he's going to take her out. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Because otherwise you'll hear the dog like crying because she wants to play with him. Hi, guys, Melissa. And I'm here to just give you guys my thoughts and opinions about what's going on with this. Ooh, I want to call it it's not really a case. It's like shut and dry for me, but And yes, I am a chaplain. I've been a chaplain now for over 3 years, and I do run a nonprofit. And we do a lot with families and children, and close. Like everybody in my family worked in social services or works in social services, so I have a lot of experience dealing with some of the ins and outs of social service. I'm actually on the registry, so when a family gets displaced or a child gets displaced and a social worker needs assistance with clothes, they need diapers, they need bottles, whatever that may be, I'm on call. So what I do is I have a stockpile in my garage, and I'll put some stuff together for that family to take with them, so they have something for that child. Because a lot of times when social services takes the child away, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, without notice. They just come in and take the child. So, and they try to place them as soon as possible in the most safest place they can possibly place them. A lot of times these people are on call, they get the call, and they don't have anything for that kid. And usually that kid leaves with absolutely nothing, the clothes on their back, if that. So very familiar with social services.
Good. It's good to have you. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to bring in Megan. Megan is another YouTuber friend I have here on the platform, and participates in a lot of different social media. And she also has had some thoughts and opinions on this case because it has areas of it that are very close to home to her. Again, I want to say, you guys, we are from California, so any information that we share is for the state of California. We are not educated on the state of Utah. This entire podcast is based on our thoughts and opinions. That we are alleged, we have to say that for legal purposes. Everything that we say is, just sort of speculation and our opinions on what's going on in the news. And so we just want to make that very, very clear. So let's bring Megan in. Hi, Megan. How are you?
Hello, how are you guys today?
So
glad to be back.
So you want to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit and let people know where you're coming from here?
Okay, I'm Megan. As Christina said, I also have a channel, more shopping channel than anything. So this is definitely something that I am so happy to be here and talk with Christina and Mel about. I am a mandated reporter as well. Given in being in the medical field, I worked in the hospital for 5 years with the children, directly with pediatrics and neonatal intensive care unit. So we had to do, CPR, all that kind of stuff. And I also, going through college, worked in a home with men and women with dementia. So abuse there was very common. You have to report it. People get frustrated. People have, you know, their patient level isn't very high. They get frustrated with people with dementia. So if we see anything like that, we have to report it. That's considered elderly abuse. And not only that, given my own personal situations that I've touched on a little bit based on what I went through with my past when my children were smaller, dealing with social service agency. No, my children were never taken from me. No, there was never a case because I got them out of their situation. It had to do with my previous marriage. And we are no longer married, nor is he involved. And I dealt with a lot of stuff when it came to that. So I put them at my door. I know how attentive they can be. And, some people may not do anything and they will wipe those kids from your life. And it will be very hard for you to get them back unless you follow certain criteria that is incorporated with whatever your situation is at that time, whatever the judge or the social worker says. So when this case came about, I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I was there. I would have done this, I would have done that. And I know Christina did a stream the other night. I did watch all of it in pieces because I couldn't sit through the whole thing at once, but I had it on and off and I did listen to everything. And there was a couple of things. One thing, talking about the husband, I think that's important. We need to state our opinions on that situation. Talking about how Frankie was there recording 2 days prior to the police arriving. I have something obviously to say about that too. But it's just a whole crazy situation that this just happened. And these poor children are, you could tell how distraught they are, how, given the way the little boy came down to the neighbor's house, listening to that 911 call, it's very heart wrenching. I think the thing that bugged me the most was the whole cayenne pepper thing. Cayenne pepper is not meant for wound treatment. I personally did a lot of wound treatment working with the elderly. There is no way they would use anything like that. It's just not a thing, especially medically. It could be very painful, irritate the skin. It's probably better they use like more of an antiseptic try to type of solution, but that obviously didn't happen. And I can't fathom what was going through their head at that time. Were they deliberately trying to make them have more pain? Is this some kind of diluted game? So there's just a lot that I think we all need to talk about because there's a lot of people affected by this just watching these kids.
I agree. I agree. I just want to let the audience know if you guys see me making weird faces, I am not feeling well this night tonight. I just want to let you guys know. So I mean, I'm powering through this one. I have a stomach condition and I'm just in excruciating pain tonight. So just in case anybody's like, why is she making those faces? Yeah, it's because I don't feel good. All right. So what I wanted to say, in terms of the cayenne pepper, I want to kind of here's I think the overview I believe that we should share with people is first I want to ask you guys what you know about Ruby Frankie. And then after you two respond, after that we'll talk about Kevin, what you know about Kevin. And then we will cover the article that is in reference to the wounds that were found on the children. And then we'll talk about our feelings overall, in terms of everyone that's involved. So first, let's start with Mel. What do you exactly know about Ruby Frankie? Like, I mean, out of all the time from August 30th, 2023 to now, what, like, how much of the story do you know? And um, what are your thoughts just on her as establishing her channel, as a mommy vlogger, because she had 2.5 million, followers. And that's a big following. And I'm not quite sure, if she was, because I never heard of this woman anyway before. I never heard of anybody. Like I've never heard this lady. Like, so I don't know if she was teaching like the Mormon, you know what I mean? The Mormon way of life, or if she was just teaching, hey, I'm a mom of, several children. This is how I do it. So I'm just curious to know, from both of you, how much you know just about this woman, because I think a lot of people never heard this lady before she came into the spotlight.
I never heard of Ruby Frank, but I know I've been watching a lot of like different vloggers and different podcasts that say that she was actually in a group with other Mormon followers that had YouTube channels. And when she hooked up with Jody, I always get their names mixed up. It's Jody, right? Yeah, Jody. When she hooked up with Jody, that's when they started to spear left and she started to spear right because their ideals were completely different. I've never heard of her before. I don't watch a lot of family vloggers because I'm not at that stage of my life anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? Like if you're young and you have little ones and you're more prone to watch that because that's what you're around. It might give you some ideas as being a mom and this and that. But I'm a grandma now. So I don't go to those kind of channels to watch. I don't watch even the most popular that are out there that have like 11 million followers. I do know that she did put her children in a lot of just like stuff I would have never done, like my kids crying or make them sleep on a sleeping bag. Or, I mean, I'm sorry, a bean bag for 7 months, put cayenne pepper on them. Um, just say, oh, I'm going to sit down to your level so we can talk. And I was just like, the boy is obviously upset. And, when you hear them say, Mom, can you please not record? And she's like, you don't want me to record? And she still records. It's just like, wow, wow. And then, they, one, YouTube channel that I watch, they did a like an analytics type video where they showed like where her peak videos were, and they seemed to be like she got the most views and made the most money when her children were in the videos rather than when it was just her by herself. She made the most money when her children were in the video. So I think she figured that out and then started recording them on a daily basis, even if it was very intrusive to them. I mean, I always thought of like if I was that age going to school and be like, "Oh yeah, my mom watched you this morning, oh, I heard you had a meltdown." That's a lot. That's a lot for a kid. And if it's a Mormon community and they're at that time they were doing it, they had a whole section of family vloggers that were all Mormon, then obviously they probably all went to the same school and then maybe it was in the same state as from what I understand. Then the other kids obviously probably talked about it. So I've been trying to catch up because, like I said, I don't really watch her. I never watched her. I didn't listen to any of the podcasts she did or anything like that because I'm not a family channel type watching person. I'm more of a, murder mystery and unsolved crimes type girl watch. That's what I like to watch. So this is all new to me, but it's very, very interesting to me.
Okay. And do you know much, just before we go to Megan, do you know much about her husband? Have you heard anything about her husband at all?
Um, the only thing that I really like, he was in the vlogs in the beginning and then they started having problems. But from what I've been seeing and reading, from what I've been hearing, allegedly, I'm going to start using that word because I don't want to get any trouble here
Right.
on with Papa YT. But
Right.
from what I've been hearing, allegedly, she was telling him like we need to work on our marriage, but we need to do it separate. You need to work on yourself, I need to work on myself. And she kind of kept him like with a carrot dangling from a distance. He was in a lot of the vlogs and would discuss about the punishments. And then from what I understand, from what I saw, it was just like he was kept at a distance and she was doing her own thing at her house and he was doing his own thing. I don't really know him that well or have seen too much of him to consider him like a horrific parent. Like, how do you not know these things? We got to put ourselves in the men mentality. You know, men are very black and white, and that's just my own personal opinion. They're very black and white. So if you don't literally say, look, I need this, this, and this from you, they just go off on just, they don't assume anything.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, they have to see things in black and white. So it might have been just him saying, okay, well, I need to give her space. She's hanging around with this Jody chick. You know, she seems to be an okay person. I'm going to give her space, and maybe we can come together and work it out. So that's my impression of Kevin. I really don't really haven't heard too much about him to like make a definite like, oh, he's a slime ball or he knew all along, because I can't say he knew all along. Men are very just, they don't see the way we see. We're
They're
too
simple.
completely, yeah, they're so
They're
simple and
simple.
we're so complicated and we have
Yeah.
all these layers, and men are just like, nope, A B C, and we're like A D E Z,
Right.
you know, we're all
Right.
over the place. So
Yeah. I agree.
it's kind of hard for me to be like, oh no, it's all Kevin's fault. He should have been on top of this. He should have been doing. Yeah, he
Right.
should have, but he's a man.
Right.
And I hate saying that, and it sounds so like, but it's just like I said, I'm a grandma, been around
Mm.
boys, have boy sons. I know how they are, but know how Ethan is. He's very black and white. Even as a little kid, they're very.
Yeah.
If you don't tell them you did this wrong or you're doing this or you're doing that, they kind of don't know, and I feel bad about that. But that's just my own personal opinion. I don't want anybody to be offended by that, but I'm just saying that's my personal opinion of what
Yeah.
I've been through. Just
I
yeah.
I think, the public's perception of Kevin um i- is that because he was a participant in the vlogs, that he has always been a part of these um uh he's always been a part of these teachings. Like, in other words, her method of discipline, and I think just she involved him sometimes, to ask him
Mhm.
his opinion, but I don't think that it was necessarily his boat to steer. I mean, I think most people have said, um, that she's always kind of run the marriage, she's always kind of run the show.
Right.
He's kind of just always been in the background agreeing.
Right. I mean,
And
I can vouch for that because like when my kids were growing up and like when Amanda would get in trouble, I'd be like, "Babe, she did this, this, and this is how I punished her." And be like, "Oh, okay." You know? So,
yeah,
I could have easily been like, you know, I could leave stuff out and be like, I did this, this, and this to her, but in reality, I did this. You know what I mean? And
right,
he would never know. He comes home from work. He's like, oh, okay, well, she's in trouble. So she's grounded or whatever. You know, he just goes about his business. So
right.
it could be that too. We got to take that into consideration. We can't always just assume like she's going home, she's going to him and telling him everything she's doing. She might be leaving some stuff out and he just simply doesn't know. He just went along with it. Oh, that sounds good. Oh, she can't use her cell phone. Okay, no electronics. Okay, that's fine. You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
don't
I
know.
I yeah, I think I asked you these questions because Megan and I communicate quite a lot about the story, and she's
Hmm.
kind of, I don't think she's had the time to research it the way that I have, but I think a lot of the speculation and a lot of the question is, Kevin's bore witness to most of this even before she connected with Jody, and there's been a lot of speculation and talk about, like, just in view, because the channel's no longer active, right? There's compilations here on YouTube, so there's bits and pieces, videos with, just clips of the way that her parenting, the way she did things, and he oftentimes was just kind of always in the video. It's not like she always asked him his opinion, but basically he was there to witness. And so I think a lot of what's being spoken of now between Court TV and Law and Crime is that these acts, although they are extreme, when she connected with Jody, is that there had to have been some kind of firm punishment going on. You know what I mean? Outside of the camera, obviously. That's why there's a clip going out there and circulating about um that she looks into the camera and says the discipline takes place off camera. You know what I mean? She kind of lets the audience know that. And there's issues, I believe, that she makes kind of a big deal of. I know Megan's brought up the scene of, the 3-year-old spilling the nail polish on the floor and stuff like that, or when she mentioned, that her the Eve, which is they refer to these two children that were discovered, EF, which is Eve, I'm not going to say the last name because apparently there's something going around saying that we can't say their names on camera. So everybody's just
Right.
been referring them, to their first and their initials. But the little boy's name is Russell, and I guess it is okay to say Russell, so I'm just going to say it. But I just feel like these 2 youngest kids have been targeted. If you go back and look at the compilation videos and the clips, it seems that these 2 are constantly being pinpointed, but as I mentioned before, I still will stand by the fact that when you research child abuse and the way I guess the behavior goes with the parents or the abuser itself is that one child out of the group of children usually gets targeted. They get like the worst or the brunt. Because one thing I did notice about the compilation clips is that she's always catching Russell crying on camera. And you can tell that this kid is literally afraid. Like there's one clip where he drops her dish. She had, I don't know if it was the holidays or something. I think Law and Crime aired it a couple days ago. And he accidentally drops the dish on the floor and he's literally crying to the point where he is terrified. You can see it in his face.
Right.
Like just of dropping something. I mean, kids are kids. It's like you get frustrated. I feel like as parents, but it's like they drop stuff. Like Megan was saying something about the polish and stuff, and I'll let her speak in just a moment. But I just want to kind of ask a little bit about Kevin because it seems like although that she was discovering through the audience and her viewers responses that every time she kind of put the spotlight in a negative light towards her children, her views went up. You know what I mean? Like it was like anything negative, anything, that was kind of hard on the kids, I guess. Or like, I mean, there's one clip going out there where they're riding their bikes. They're teaching them to ride their bikes, and the 2 kids just slam right in they slam right in, like they're riding and they just kind of run
Right.
right into each other. And you can hear her just chuckling. And I mean,
I
yes,
think
it's funny. I mean, it is, when the kids start something when they're skating or when they're riding a bike,
right.
it's funny.
But
But I
it's
feel
not
like,
cool to record it and be like, ha ha
yeah,
ha. And I think
exactly.
that's shock factor. And that what happens is, when somebody, and then it goes on the news and they're like, oh, this YouTuber is known for da da da. And, they did a video and then that just, everybody's like, oh, what does that mean? So they go look up that name and they watch that video. So yeah, she's going to get a spike because everybody's like, can you believe this woman did this? So, and that's more money in her pocket. I mean, she said herself she was making millions of dollars off of
Yeah.
YouTube.
I agree. All right, so we're gonna bring Megan into some of these details because she did point those out. And then after we talk a little bit about Ruby Frank and Kevin Frank, then we'll go and we'll read the article. It's a very quick article, you guys. It's about a 5-minute read. And then and this is going to kind of pinpoint and specify some of the discipline that or actually it's not even, I don't even want to call it discipline, okay? Because I kind of went off the rails last night. I was so upset about this. I was more emotional today. I'm not as connected to it because I just
Oh, and real quick, I just wanted to say welcome, Samantha Lynn. Thank you so
oh,
much, baby
yes.
girl. And we have a couple of other people in the live chat too. So I just want to, Teresa, thank you for joining us. And Tiffany, thank you for joining us. Tiffany Jackson, thank you guys for joining us.
Thank
Okay,
you.
let's go into
Okay,
Megan.
okay, let's add Megan. Okay, go ahead and unmute yourself, Megan.
Okay. Hey. All right. So, where would you like me to start, Christina?
You can go ahead and just kind of give our viewers like a little bit of an overview of what you know about Ruby Frankie and Kevin Frankie and just what you feel about like what you've learned from their channel, the style, them as a couple, and then maybe as parents together. Because I know there's been a lot of talk of just, Kevin Frankie just kind of being a passenger itself and just kind of getting involved in the methods of parenting that Ruby Frankie did. So I'm just kind of curious your because that channel
Well,
was active from 2015 to 2021, and then she paired up with Jody, and came across his connections.
I've
This
never seen her channel before. I've been watching YouTube forever, and I've never known who she was or watched her at all. However, I have seen enough. Recently, I've watched it just because I want to understand and have my own opinion about this matter. So, Now, and just to use this as an example, I put my kids in the videos here and there. Never are they forced. They pop in for 2 seconds, they'll wave their hand, they'll do very minimal. The channel's not about them, you know, the channel's about shopping and this and that, as an example. So my children come in because they enjoy associating with people on the channel, and I let them choose when they want to pop in, say hi, or come with me to the store. So the way that she handled her channel, I disagree with. I don't think it's an ideal way to do. I think there's a lot of, okay, let me reiterate. I think there's a lot of great family vloggers. I've watched a lot of them, but the kids want to be there. They show their involvement. They're laughing. They're doing family activities. That was a distorted family, very broken. And you can see that. It's very obvious to the eye. Now, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this because I can't get over this whole situation. And I wonder, in some of the clips that I've seen with Frankie, I'm wondering now, she was smiling. It seems like some of her children were engaged with her at times, smiled back. It could have been sarcasm, possibly. It could have been maybe they were told, you do this right, or things are taken away. Who knows? We're not behind the scenes. It's just our opinion. But there did seem sometimes where the kids were okay. And then I wonder to myself, was she always very abusive? Maybe she did have a hard way of discipline that I disagree with. I don't discipline my kids that way. I wouldn't. I have my own ways. And yes, I agree, taking their electronics, that's my big thing. PlayStation, electronics, cell phone, gone. You want to go somewhere? Nope, sorry, can't go. Done. Oh, you're going to bed an hour early. You don't get to stay up till your normal time. You have to go to bed an hour early tonight because you
Right,
weren't
right,
listening. You know?
right.
So everybody has their own way of doing that. So I wonder if Frankie wasn't, she was that way, but then after she met Jody, it seemed like she got worse or
Yeah,
something changed.
yeah,
And that's what I want to know. Like, how did that change? Because she didn't seem like she was a physical abusive parent in those videos for 8 passengers. It
yeah,
seemed like she was maybe a little over the top with the way she did things, the whole son on the beanbag, taking his room. You don't get dinner, you have to do chores before breakfast. Stuff like that that's over the top. That's not, I disagree with that. But physically binding and bonding and tape and handcuffs and all this stuff going on, something changed. And I truly believe, like even Jody, when we watched her interview with the Jody's niece, I believe that she had 90% of the influence on Frankie to change her parenting ways and to make her harsher than she was. Now,
yeah,
I also believe, in my own opinion, that the husband knew that she was being harsh. Obviously, he's a witness, he was there. However, and I'm not taking sides, I'm just giving him the benefit of the doubt. If there was no physical abuse happening, then technically he probably never saw it. He only knew the harsh punishment of the other things I listed, which is not okay, absolutely not okay. But remember, we have to think he was gone for 14 months. Now, people say, oh, you should have been there. Those were your kids. I agree with that. However, I could put myself in that position, and I didn't let my kid's dad see them. He tried. I said, no,
yeah,
you're not doing it. I went to court. I got full custody. I'm not going to have somebody, living their life an incorrect way around my children to influence them to do bad things or to take narcotics of any sort or think it is okay to do that when they get older and expose them to that. Now, she could have very well cut his butt off and he had no control. I mean, I did it. I had full control. It's as easy as that. Now, I'm not taking his side, but given the fact that he was upset once he found out the abuse that was taking place, I'm sure he was upset. And I'm sure he truly didn't know that it was going on to that extent. Now, as the father, if he was living life, you know, cut and dry, doing everything he's supposed to be doing, then yes, absolutely, he should have fought harder. He wasn't the person doing the wrong. They were having marriage issues. She listened to Jody. She probably pushed him away. Maybe her and Jody were having a relationship. Who knows? This is my opinion. Maybe they were having sex together, right? Who knows? They could have been making love and wanting her husband away. Hey, you stay over there. I don't want you to know what's going on. We don't know. And it very well could have happened. So I do believe he's upset about what he's seen so far or what he knows. But I do also think that he should have tried a lot harder because it wasn't like my situation where my ex husband was in the wrong and he needed to stay away. Otherwise, CPS is telling me, hey, your kid's father is around. I'm going to take those kids because he's not doing A, B, and C. And this is not okay for your children to be around. It
Yeah.
wasn't that situation with him. So he could have tried harder. Like, hey, Frankie, I want visitation. I want weekends with my kids. Drop them off. We'll meet at the police station, whatever it is. I truly believe he should have done that to be a part of what was going on. And maybe those kids would have talked sooner to their father. And maybe this could have stopped if he put more feet forward.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I think that, well, first, they were never legally separated.
right.
So, and there is two other victims that have come into play when it comes to Jodi Hildebrandt, and that is her niece and a man called Adam Steed, who had an experience that was very similar to Kevin's. And I think, Kevin was just beginning to experience the same exact behavior and the same exact like MO that Jodi Hildebrandt had used on several marital marriages, I guess. Is that what I want to say? So, because she was a marriage counselor, you know what I mean? So, a lot of people in the Mormon church would turn to her for marriage services and counseling. And that is kind of how she would do it, because she had this theory, I guess, in her teachings that something must perish to resurrect itself. You know what I mean? For some reason, she was stuck on this teaching that something had to unalive. That's why I'm using perish because you can't say the other word. But there was just this thing about how this thing should uh kind of fade out, and then it would resurrect itself for some reason. I don't even understand the theory of that. But apparently she had used this method on another couple, which is Adam Steed, and she had a romantic relationship with his wife. And so this is something that she was well known for doing within the practices of her classes and all that stuff. And there are husbands now speaking out that, it doesn't, because one thing Adam Steed said that was very interesting, which is one of her public victims, is that she would start out the program to where it wasn't so harsh. You know what I mean? It wasn't so detrimental to the couples that were participating. It was kind of like he called it phase one, which means it was lighthearted. It was more of a counseling experience. And then it kind of goes deeper and deeper, and then till the husband is cast out. You know what I mean? And then she just has these women kind of following her lead. I mean, it's it's like polygamy, you know what I mean? Like she had this harem of women like following her around, and she was just it's so cult like, it's insane. But I think one of the reasons why I wanted to ask both of you about Ruby Frank and Kevin Frankie first is because you have the different entities. You have the marriage of the couple that had a channel, and then you have the marriage that transitions into therapy sessions with this therapist who then kind of stands in the way of these two people. The media has said that Kevin Frankie is still very much in love, which I don't even know how he could say that out loud. But he seems to be very still, very connected to the wife, even after hearing what she's done to these poor kids. And
Yeah.
he's not going to divorce her. He's standing, he moves back in the home, and she's incarcerated, and he's attending the juvenile hearings and all this kind of stuff, and it's just insane. Now, this is all coverage that's happened over the last 2 weeks, and the most recent details that we're going to talk about is this article that came out a couple of days ago. But one of the reasons why I'm asking you about all this is because Kevin's attorney did his first interview yesterday, and he kind of goes over from front to back, like where Kevin is, why he hasn't, spoken out, and so on and so forth. Because let everybody have. I mean, that's the first question, right? Is where's the husband? Where's the dad? What's he doing? I see like, what the heck? Like why hasn't he made more of an effort to see the kids and all that kind of stuff? So all that's been going on for some time, but I did want to kind of just ask you guys in general about the couple. I personally have never heard of 8 passengers either. You know what I mean? I've never heard of any of these people. So, but it has been very interesting that this woman has come into their lives and turned it upside down. And the oldest daughter, who's 21 and attends college, had done a podcast about a week ago and talked about the changes that had happened when her mom had paired up in these counseling sessions, and the difference, and how her family function had happened, like how like her mother started using the terms distortion and manipulation and all these different terms that the kids had never heard before. And that's when she started kind of going into the 10th level extreme. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, but a lot of people also on the flip side of that are saying that this just didn't happen. Do you know what I mean? Like Kevin's been around since the beginning, right? I mean, he's been around. These kids have been on camera since they were born. There's no way that there couldn't have been some kind of deeper level of discipline going on behind the scenes, um, without just this lady coming into the picture. You know what I mean? So that's why I wanted to ask. So I'm going to move over to this article that came out a couple of days ago. I'm going to read it, and then I will get your response. We'll start with you, Mel, after I read the article, and then we'll move on to Megan. So I'm going to move you guys over to the side. I'm going to share this article, and it's a quick read. Hopefully, you guys won't. Hopefully, I can read it well enough to where I'm not going to ruin it. All right, so let me go ahead. I'm going to put us down on the bottom so that the viewers can see this as best as they can. Well, maybe on the side, huh? Because there's wording on it. All right, so we'll just keep it like this. But let me go ahead and read this article that came out, and then we will have you guys respond to it. So this was released September 21st, I believe. Oh no, September 20th. I'm sorry, it's right up here on the top. September 20th, 2023. It came out about 10 o'clock in the morning. And this was a report that Channel 2 in Ivins, Utah came out with. So it says new search warrants obtained by 2 News, which is the name of the news channel, details allegations of Jody Hildebrandt using cayenne pepper and honey to dress wounds on the body of 2 of Ruby Frank's children, where they had allegedly been bound with duct tape, a medically dangerous and potential painful use of the herb. Now, yesterday when I started my stream alone, I had just Googled cayenne pepper, to see, if it's a remedy, is it a holistic remedy, and so on and so forth. And in a minute, I'm not going to look it up on Google separately because they actually quote it in this article, but I did look it up prior to. So it says its medical use aside, the presence of any type of remedy for the children's wounds proved Hildebrandt, at best, aware the abuse was happening, authorities stated in the documents. 2 separate warrants were signed and served on the day a 911 call was made by a neighbor of Jody Hildebrandt in Ivins, Utah, with a child at their doorstep. Now, let me make it very clear for those of you that are not aware. Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby Frankie lived 4 hours away from each other. 4 hours. So this isn't just like, hey, Jody, Hildebrandt lived down the street. No, these guys were, I mean, well, in terms of residences, there was a very far distance. But I will say that it has been covered in different footage and news outlets that Ruby Frankie had moved in with Jody Hildebrandt. They have not really pinpointed how long or how recent that was, but I do want to make light of that. So the next part of this says officers found that the victim's mother, Ruby Frankie, had left her 3 children in the care of Jody Hildebrandt. One of the search warrant affidavits states officer also found that Jody Hildebrandt had posted several posts on social media and YouTube channels where she discusses mental health and family therapy. So this portion of the article covers that Ruby Frankie knew the kids were there because they just had filmed their classes, which is here where my mouse is underneath, just a few days before. They had continued to do their reels on Instagram. They had continued to post on social media regularly. So there's no way that Ruby Frankie can claim that she did not know that the children were there. So moving more into this, it says a third search warrant was signed on the following day on August 31st, 2023. Warrant on Jody Hildebrandt's property. Now, this is very interesting, so please listen and keep this a mental note to the side. So this says, according to the first warrant, a sergeant with Santa Clara Ivans Police Department had reason to believe that there were items described at Hildebrandt's address as property used in the commission of the criminal offense of child abuse. This warranted was executed around 2 o'clock on August 30th, 2023. In the statement included in the affidavit for the search warrant, upon arrival, officers found that a 12-year-old victim had duct tape around their ankles and appeared to be how's this one? Emaciated? Am I saying that correctly? Because the victim was abnormally thin and weak. All right. So the affidavit continued to say that the medical personnel removed the duct tape and located open wounds. The victim informed. Now, the victim is Russell, you guys. That's a 12-year-old boy. Just in case you're curious, it is not the daughter. It is the youngest daughter. It's actually his son. The victim informed officers and medical personnel that the wounds were from the rope that was used to tie the victim to the ground, said the statement establishing grounds for the search warrant. The victim informed the officers that Jody put the ropes on their ankles and wrists and that they used cayenne pepper and honey to dress the wounds. So I highlight that because all this time over the footage that has been covered in the major, news media, including the law and crime, the true crime networks and all that stuff, the finger had been pointed at Jody Hildebrandt. So the child now verifies that now is they her and Ruby, we don't know, we can speculate. I mean, I would 100% think he's accusing Ruby too, but there's that. So they could mean anything though. Keep that in mind in court. It has to be admissible. It has to be something that tangible that they can use against Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby Frankie. So it could be the oldest, it could be the other child that was there that Jody help her do whatever it is to her brother. So I could only imagine the scars of the kids, but we'll get into that later. All right. So moving on, it says while cayenne pepper has been long an ingredient used for medicinal purposes, it should not be used on cracked skin or open wounds, according to Mount Sinai. And I do believe Mount Sinai is a hospital. Do not apply capsaicin. Am I saying that correctly? Cream to cracked skin or open wounds. The medical center's website states twice. However, with caution, this kind of ointment may be used on the skin for older children. Do not use topical cayenne ointments for more than 2 days in a row for a child. So that's another detail that I didn't see. According to the affidavit, officers conducted a protective sweep and located one juvenile who was reluctant to speak with officers. They also identified a possible safe room in the basement that is locked, and it is unknown if anyone was inside. All right. The affidavit ended with the officer's request to obtain any and all evidence relating to child abuse and access to the possible safe room to determine that no one else was inside. According to the return of the search warrant, officers seized, okay, this is what they took into possession: Scott's tape and saran wrap, along with papers, notes, a journal, two bowls. Oh, okay, I want you guys to comment on this because I remember. I was trying to remember the damn lady's name last night, and it's Casey Anthony. Anyways, Scott's tape and saran wrap, along with papers, notes, a journal, two bowls containing a red liquid with a metal spoon, two super absorbent dressings, two Coben bandages with Fort White ankle socks, three sets of a brown and white rope, two handcuffs, and three carabiners. I don't know what that is. Maybe Mel knows what I don't know what any of this stuff is. There was no further mention of the possible safe room in the search warrant returned. All right, so this is another piece of information I think you guys should make a note to. Warrant for communication between Jody and Ruby recordings of all alleged abuse. The second search warrant was signed just before 5:30 p.m. on August 30th, 2023, with a request for any and all cell phones, audio recordings, computers, tablets, laptops, surveillance footage, doorbell cameras, and any other communication device used to send text messages or email or any other audio visual communication. So there's that. And then here's on Twitter, they put the affidavit that they saw. The warrant specifically requests to obtain any devices from Jody Hildebrandt or her home where she may have had communication with Ruby Frankie. According to the return document for the search warrant, 3 Apple iPhones and 4 MacBook computers were seized. Warrant for Jody Hildebrandt's phone. Okay, now I find this very interesting. A third search warrant was signed the day after officers arrived at the home on August 31st, 2023, just before 8 a.m. So this is where I feel like Jody called somebody and had somebody do something with her phone. I'm just going to say that right now. But the detective with Santa Clara Ivins Police Department requested Jody Hildebrandt's phone, saying she was in possession of the phone when officers made contact with her. There's no documentation of a return made on the search warrant. Therefore, it is unknown if Jody's phone was seized. So they don't even know if they got her fucking phone. That's all I'm going to say. And that just pisses me off. However, new information presented itself in the affidavit for this search warrant. 2 News learned that the 12-year-old was transported to an area hospital and was placed on a medical hold due to his deep lacerations from beginning. I'm sorry, deep lacerations from being tied up with rope and from his malnourishment. This document also outlines how the 12-year-old's 10-year-old sibling was also determined to be malnourished by medical professionals. This affidavit also outlines the search warrant on Jody Hildebrandt's home, mentioning that officers located 2 medical gauze dressings near cayenne pepper and honey paste. Ms. Hildebrandt requested a lawyer and did not speak with us. Said the affidavit, Ms. Hildebrandt informed me that the 2 kids, so that would be RF and EF, the 2 children, never should be allowed around older kids. So that was Jody that says that, not Ruby. All right, so that was the article that was released on the 20th. All videos were made yesterday, the 21st. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over. I'll remove the article now and put us back up here, and we'll let Mel start. So what is your response to this, Mel? I think you're muted or something. I don't know. We don't hear you for some reason.
Oh, I didn't have my mic on.
She's in training, you guys.
Definitely in training. And Megan decided to have a cocktail. So I'm like, oh, wow. So now I'm really not paying attention.
Cocktail hour.
But it is cocktail hour. It's 8:42 in California right now. So it's a little late for us. She's a bad influence, guys. She's a bad influence.
No, this is it makes trying to digest all this bullshit like easier.
I'm
So
telling you, I'm the cayenne pepper is what really got me because I've never. I mean, well, when I was growing up, we used mentolato, which is like a Vicks vapor rub. That was my grandma's answer to everything. But and that itself, when you had an open wound, would kill you. So I can only imagine what those poor kids were going through with the cayenne pepper. I was like, who
and
does that? Who
that was under the tape, by the way. That was not exposed. That was
and
under sealed, not breathing.
And how do you get that idea? Who gives you that idea? Like, oh yeah, my kid has a little cut. Let me put some cayenne pepper on it and see what happens. It's like, who thinks of stuff like that off the top of their head? Like, I would never be like, oh wow, sorry, Amanda, got a big old cut. Got to get that cayenne pepper out. I mean, it's just not something you would think about. I'm at least as a normal person, I would think you would not think to put like anything that would sting or harm the child in any way. So that got me. That really pissed me off. I'm sorry. It was just unacceptable. And for her to be a nurse, I mean, come on. You know, as a registered nurse that you don't do that to small children. I'm sorry. I don't care how old you are. I wouldn't even put that on myself right now. It's like, how can I torture myself? Let me get some cayenne pepper. No, absolutely not. And let's see, and the rope, the wounds from the rope, from the it's just
So
a
it was
sad
hard.
situation.
That was hard yesterday when I did it. I mean, it was really hard because first of all, I'm sorry, Ruby Frankie, if for those of you that don't know, is a registered pediatric nurse. She was
Yes,
not
dealing
practicing.
with babies.
Yeah, She is a pediatric nurse, and
Out
her
of
license is still active. I don't know if they terminated it at this point because she's been arrested, but this
they
whole
should.
time she's
It
been on
would probably
social
be
media.
suspended.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it
So
would definitely be suspended. And if you go to nursing school for uh, what is it, about 6 years to be a registered nurse, I
it's
would think out of anything they would treat you or train you to do not put cayenne pepper on, especially children's wounds. It's not
could
some
you imagine
wow.
how many days they might have went through that? I mean, how many days that they went through that? That's not just like something that they started doing 2 days before they were, fucking recording their ridiculous seances that they were doing. I mean, you know what I mean? Like this whole thing of then even giving parental advice it's just a joke. And by the way, you
And
guys, this is called a circus of fuckery for a reason. So the girls have like, I know some of you are coming over from their channels. It's a no holds barred show. My show is not PG-13 by any means.
it's
So I
definitely
want to
not.
let you guys know. I just want to
Yeah.
let you guys know
So
that.
you will
So,
hear some foul language. It
yeah,
probably will not be coming from
yeah.
me,
They're
even though
streaming
I
on
have
their
a
own channels,
cocktail.
you guys. Yeah, they're streaming on their own channels.
Oh, yeah.
I've given them authorization to do that. But here on my channel, I mean, on my in my space over here, it's like because the world's a fucked up place, and there's a lot of people out here doing really, really vile things. And whenever it comes to children, it's just it can take your breath away. It's like yesterday, I was like mad, emotional, livid, like just it was insane, like just reading those words, I was like, "Are you serious?" Every little thing. And then when I read, they don't even know if they had their fucking phone. I mean, is she that connected that they just, damn well if they didn't have the search warrant till the next day, she called somebody.
Usually
She
they
called
get it
somebody
within
from jail.
hours. They wake a
Yeah.
judge up and they're like, here, sign this search warrant. We need A, B, C, and D. And we need it now before they go through and they wipe everything. It's so easy to just wipe everything off your computer now. Thank God they can look back and everything's like saved on the cloud. So they really got to know their stuff on the
What's
the
really funny
computers.
what's really also funny is that I don't know if this thought has come across to anybody, but Ruby knew she was getting arrested. She was
Oh
tipped
yeah.
off.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean, you think about
even
it, Utah's not big. It's not a big state. It's not it's a small community and they're all stick together. I mean, it is what it is. It's like, like I'll give you an example. People think California is big, but I'm in Orange County and from Orange County to LA is about a 30-minute drive. So
yeah.
you think everybody in my city, I live in Huntington Beach, we're pretty close knit. Like everybody knows everybody. We kind of get your own community, your own circle. So it's not that big. It's not as big as what people think it is. It's really not. Like everybody knows there. It's kind of like a small town.
Yeah.
So they all know, they all inform each other. And oh, to answer your question, a carabiner is like a little clip. It's like those
Oh,
metal clips that you use to bind things together. They have steel ones and they clip them together. So they could have been using a carabiner to clip them
the gauze.
together. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like a lock, but a little bit heavier duty lock, like a clip. It's a little.
Yeah,
I have one on my purse actually that I use to hold my change purse, and that change purse is my speaker that I use. But yeah, it's like a little
yeah,
clip, and I love it. They super strong, last forever, and they're
yeah,
relatively inexpensive, and you can definitely do a lot with that. I'm sure if my husband was here, he could tell me all the bad things you can do with the
yeah.
because he's
Well,
ex-army, so he would know like all the ins and outs of how you can bind a person or use it to hold somebody down.
yeah, well,
So
another thing I thought about too, not only about, that Ruby was tipped off, but also that, if Ruby was tipped off, then, Jody called somebody about these electronics.
oh
So
yeah, for
someone coulda
sure.
someone coulda went in that house and cleared out the iPads and whatever it is that they were doing. I mean, they had enough time. So even though
Oh
they were
yeah.
trying to get these search warrants to be immediate, there was still enough time even with their getting their one phone call, or whatever. And the reason why I keep saying that Jody Hildebrand is connected is because it's a very well public thing in Utah that she's very close to the attorney the attorney general.
Hmm.
So she has there's a public I'm sorry, there's a political element to this, and that's why a lot of people were, just thinking that she wasn't even going to they didn't I mean there's a lot of people that are surprised that they're even still in jail. So,
I
it's
think the only
very
reason that
interesting.
they are still in jail is because it's out in the public. I don't think if it had this much attention to it, I think this all would have been swept under the rug. I'm just being 100% honest
Yeah.
because of all
Yeah.
the people that she does know, it could have easily been swept under the rug. But since it caught fire and so many people are interested in it, it's harder for them to cover their tracks or kind of erase things from the media, kind of like how, what happened with Danny Masterson. Same thing with
Yeah.
him. Like they
Yeah.
really couldn't sweep it under the rug like they did for so many years. You know what I mean? So,
Well, also
you
just
guys,
the fact that they're in the medical block, you know what I mean? Like they're getting the special treatment and, oh, delicate because they think there's something wrong with them. You know what I mean? Like it's like you said, that's a safe move. It's like they can be easily. I mean, I wouldn't venture to say that they're probably using the phone more than they normally would on the regular. You know what I mean?
oh,
Like they can do
yeah, for
anything they want. It's
sure. For sure. Well, I know the LA County jails are so packed here. So if we had a high profile case like that, they would definitely put them in a medical type facility just to keep them safe until they got to trial or until they got to their bail hearing. They would want to keep
yeah,
them safe because it's so crowded right now in LA. There's no way they could have easily been. And if they get killed or injured while they're in police custody, it just looks really bad on the police force. So that
yeah,
might be an added reason why they put him in the medical. Or like I said, she could have said she was trying to herself. You know what I mean? I don't
yeah,
want to say that
yeah.
word. You guys
Right.
know that
Unalive.
S
Yeah,
word, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah,
But she could have easily just said that in passing, or they might have overheard it, or they might even think it, and then they'll move her over there. So
yeah.
it's just, it's, I
Before
just,
I hand this over to Megan, I wanna also just say this really fast, and there was, like, in my mind when I heard a lot about Jody, I thought to myself, it can go 2 ways for her, like, either the higher ups and all these connected people can either look at her like she's now a problem, you know what I mean, making them look
yes,
bad,
I believe
or
so.
they could just go or it can go on the flip side of that where they're like, protect her at any end, because she's got shit on everybody. She's got dirt on it. You know what I'm saying? It could be either or. That's what I was
It
thinking in my
depends.
head.
I actually think
So,
it's like a little scale they probably use. How much dirt does she have, and how many skeletons will come out of the closet if we just go ahead and back away? If it's
yeah,
not that many skeletons, you don't see too many bodies falling out of the walls, then they're going to be like, okay, well, she needs to go. Let's make an example of her. And I think that's a lot to do with, let's make an example because so many people are being brought to light now.
yeah,
It's just like this overflow, and they want to put those people and really really give it to them because this is the example they want to set. Like, we're not like that. This is what we're going to do. We're going to sentence them to, such and
yeah,
such. But on the flip side, you are right. It depends on how many skeletons she has on these people. How many
Yeah,
skeletons do they have in their
exactly. Yeah,
closet? Yeah,
yeah,
you're right on that part. Yep,
yeah.
I
All
agree.
right, Megan, let's hear your take. I can't unmute you. You have to mute. You have to unmute you.
Okay. I want to say real quick before I forget is I think that they were purposely moved to medical. I don't think there was any claim said. I think the media just told us that. Honestly, I truly believe that if they put Frankie in that population, they're going to hurt her. You know how many moms are in jail and that actually miss their kids because they might have done something dumb and they're like, how did I end up here? No, and I know some moms that happened to, and they're good people and they never did this mistake again. I'm just saying, they're going to hurt her. They're going to hurt her in the jail. She wouldn't have survived a minute in there. They had to move her out. Given how big the story is, they had to get her to safety. Either that or they would have had to put her I know how they do it for the guys, but I don't know how they do it for the women because I was never there besides people that I know have told me stories. They have an area where they're like protected per se, where they get the protection they need so they don't get killed in jail. Because there's crazy people in there who are getting life that would love to handle that woman, love to handle her. They'd be like, give me her, I'll take her. Let me show her what's up. And you know what? I wouldn't feel bad for her a bit because as a mother, and I'm just keeping it real, like I know a lot of some of my subscribers might be here. Hi, everybody. But I love doing this because I could really like state how I felt. Um, you know, as a mom, having somebody else bind your children with rope, with tape, or anything like that, I would never let some crazy woman like Jody touch my kids. She would have been flying across the room already. She put hands on any one of my boys or my daughter. Like, how does this mother have the audacity to think that it is okay that this other woman and I are plotting to tie my kid with to the floor and this is normal? Like, this is okay? Who does that? She is a crazy bitch, and she needs to be taken down and never see her kids again, never have custody of her kids. She needs to stay in jail, both of them, because if she was there, and they said that they filmed 2 days prior, and as Christina said, they live 4 hours apart. They weren't neighbors. It wasn't like me coming over to Mel's house, 10-15 minute drive. I could come daily. I could come 3 times a day. It's no big deal because she lives so close. It's not like that. She's driving 4 hours. She left one of the kids at her residence. The other kids were there. I mean, really? And you're going to let someone um, think of this attempt of how we're going to discipline and make these kids feel shameful for what? They're kids. Kids mess up all the time. Mine do every day. They take their phones when they're not supposed to. They re-download games when they're not supposed to. That's what kids do. Yeah, Mel's laughing because that's what I'm going through right now. And they do this. This is what they're built for. And that's why we're moms to take care of them and teach them right and wrong, not injure them, not abuse them, not make them fearful. We're supposed to be uplifting to them. We're supposed to make them feel strong, make them know the difference between right and wrong, how to handle a bad situation. If you're in a bad area, how do you handle this? You don't want your kids to grow up timid and scared of everybody because of the abuse that they have went through. That's the worst way in the world to grow up.
So, Megan, I got a question for you. Do you think that Stop laughing because you're gonna make me laugh. Do you think that they were hooking up? Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
absolutely.
I
I
think they
think
were
they were
sleeping
sleeping
together and
together and
doing the
doing the
whole
whole
nine
nine
yards.
yards.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Her
Husband
husband
is
is
not
not
ugly.
ugly. Why is she going to have him go all the way, God knows where, 14 months if she ain't got something else going on somewhere else? She's dipping something somewhere else because her husband is not, you know, what do they call those guys that are just boring looking and blah and just, they're there. It's like whatever. No, he was a good looking man. And like I saw some clips when he would come up behind her and kiss her neck or something. Obviously, they had something going on. They were married. So what intrigued Frankie to go on this, road trip 4 hours away, keep her husband away from the kids? The marriage couldn't have been that bad. I mean, we don't know. She didn't look like she was abused. There was nothing ever said that the husband beat her. You know, it's like, what was going on? I want to know all those details. That's what I want to know. And then I would like to hear more about the kids, like their stability now and stuff like that. I think those two were playing in bed together. Something was going on
Because
because
they
they
were
were
too
too
entangled
entangled
with
with
each
each
other.
other.
I agree. I think they were definitely something was going on with those two. And I heard, well, I watched a video and they were saying that the therapy she was offering or whatever she was doing, some of the couples were saying, well, some of the husbands were saying that she was overly friendly with them.
Yes.
Like Jody was overly friendly with the wives and they did not like it.
And even Maria, hi Maria, she put it in the chat that she said, just think the damage that they cause other families. Absolutely.
Oh
Oh
my
my
goodness.
goodness.
And
And
then
then
she
she
said,
said,
yes, I
yes, I
think they
think
were
they were
hooking
hooking
up.
up.
Yep,
Yep,
they were
they were
hooking
hooking
up
up
for
for
sure.
sure.
The
The
therapist
therapist
apparently
apparently
broke
broke
up
up
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
parents.
parents.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I saw that. I was watching that. Yeah, I don't. Maybe she did hate man Samantha. I don't know, but it's really odd that she just entangled herself with this family, separated her from her husband, it isolated her. I wonder if she's going to turn around.
She manipulated her into abusing her own kids
That's what I'm
somehow.
saying. Is she going to flip it eventually and say, "Well, I was brainwashed by Jody. I was in love with her. She made me think this. She made me feel that." You know what I mean? Is that going to be her defense? Is she going to turn it around and blame it all on Jody, swoop back to her Mormon ways, so she gets their support, and then it all flips on Jody? Hmm.
I think
Maria, I think you
Jody,
got something.
yeah, Maria. And then Samantha said manipulation. Maybe she hated men. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too,
She
Samantha.
could just be a true lesbian. She just doesn't like what the men offer. I don't know about that. But and that's okay if she was that way. But why break up family, you know?
Why abuse these children? Was it a constant reminder that she had these children with Kevin? Was it a constant reminder that she had these children with Kevin, so she felt the need that she had to lessen them or make them less than her? I'm so confused about this abuse. I'm very confused by it.
I hope the older daughter speaks out. Isn't she over 18?
She's 21 years old, I believe.
Yeah. I
But
really hope. I'd love to hear her story.
I think, and this is my own personal opinion, I think she really wanted to get custody of those little ones. I think that's why she's showing up to court. I think that's why she's trying to see what's going on. I think she's trying to involve herself more. But I also think she fears, because she lives in that state, she will be isolated by the Mormon community. I don't know, Samantha, how long they know each other. Samantha wrote, "Do we know how long they knew each other?"
Well, let's research that and see if we can find out.
And then Maria wrote, "I think she's a narcissist. She said I didn't have to make her children happy. That was up to them." I think so too. I just it's I've seen a lot of child abuse case, and I've seen a lot of children taken from their homes, and it's always a very sad, just heartbreaking situation. But seeing it all unfold, and then in our YouTube community, it makes me make my heart ache. I don't deal well with that. So do you know how long they know each other? Megan's doing the research right now.
Yeah, on Reddit, there's a lot of cool comments here. A lot of people think, like we were talking about, possibly getting the vibe that they were in a romantic relationship.
And I think that's why she isolated Kevin.
That's what I said.
She kept Kevin in the dark, and poor Kevin's over here thinking everything's all hunky dory. They're going to work it out. And she's over here tying him, chilling up, and putting cayenne pepper on him.
I mean, to think, he's been away from her 14 months. No love from his wife. No, how are you? Nothing like that for 14 months. I mean, for God's sake, no sex with your own wife. Like, she's doing something, or Kevin's doing something. Somebody's doing something. I want to know. Doesn't state how long they known each other. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of the romantic relationships. A lot of people think that. And then the other thing,
The reason why you guys are hearing the echo is because we are in the same room, because Megan couldn't make it home on time to do the podcast. So I told her to just go ahead and do it here, which is cool because she's my bad influence. So she's literally sitting next to me. So if you guys hear the echo, we got to mute each other out. So she's muted right now. And then when she speaks, I'll mute. So that way you guys don't hear the echo. She's on a good one right now. She's trying to find out how long. I want to say they met after she quit her YouTube. Like she just stopped posting on YouTube. And thank God it got taken down. Did you find out?
31st, Jody, Hildebrandt, and Ruby during a connection.
When's the first time they posted? Does anybody know that information? Like when's the first time they posted? It's very interesting because they were not. Maria said she thought she read that they were not friends for a long time. So I'm curious, like, then this relationship is like really new. Did she just fall head over heels for her? Like she must have. And the way, if you've seen some of their like interviews or like their little podcasts they did together when they're on the couch, and the way they look at each other and how she puts her hand on her leg and like squeezes it and stuff, when she's like, I was making millions of dollars on YouTube and I had to give it up for my children, and she's like putting her hand on her leg, and I'm like, why are you squeezing her leg like that? Is that to tell her to shut up? Or is it she's like, I feel for you, baby? You know, it was just, you got to watch that. If you guys have not Googled that, Google that, because, and then look at the way they look at each other and where her hands are going, because she's like rubbing her leg. And I'm like, I love Megan, but I would feel a little uncomfortable if she started rubbing my leg like that. I'd be like, okay, get your hand off me, girl. I'm married. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, I'm mute so Megan can talk.
Yeah, Mel's not going to have any of that mess going on. Nope. I can't seem to find, maybe Christina, when she comes back, may know that information, because those two, and then I don't know, I just cannot believe that Frankie let This happened to her own flesh and blood. Those are your children. You carried in you for 9 months. You give birth to them, and then you abuse them and hurt them. Like, was she trying to low key hope that they would just die and they would bury him? For God's sake. Like, that's what they were on the verge of. The kid was malnourished. He's abused. He hasn't ate. He's tied up. Oh my gosh, if I was her neighbor, I would have broke down that door, physically taken the kids out myself, brought them to my house, called the cops, once they were safe, of course. I am all aggressive when it comes to that kind of stuff. I would have done something. And that's what leads me to want to touch the basis of the sisters. I know one of the sisters just recently did a video while she was cleaning, talking about how it affected her and how this has put such a toll on the family. Absolutely, I agree with that. But I'm going to tell you guys something. If I was screwing up and I'm the older sister, and let's just say, and I'm using this as an example, and I did something crappy beyond this, my sister would be at my door ready to take my kids whether I liked it or not. She would be at that door banging, threatening to call the cops on me. Megan, give me those kids. I'm taking them now. She was at my door when my ex-husband was doing stupid stuff, you know? And she was there, Megan, I'm taking the kids. He's out of control. Something's going to happen. It's not safe. And I said, take them. And that's how that went. And then I got myself out of the situation once I was able to deal with him. And this is when Ethan was probably a couple months old and Noah was 1 or 2. She took him. She was gone. It did, you know what I mean? One phone call, she was there. That's what I don't understand. Either these women are weak minded or they're afraid of something that we don't know about. But my sister would be there in a second. I just don't understand how these women, I understand they have their own families and husbands, but that's my sister, and those are my nieces and nephews. I'm going to break down, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure my nieces and nephews are safe, no matter what their beliefs are, no matter what. If the kids are in danger and they're being abused, it needs to be dealt with. And my sister's not going to do that. As an example, she would never. But you know where I'm getting at? Like, I just don't understand that. How the sisters can just be like, I'm upset. Yes, they're going through it. Everybody handles grief in their own way. Everybody feels differently. Some women are stronger than the others. Some women are weaker. We don't know their whole back history of their relationship either. I get that. But these are children involved. You got to push yourself. These kids needed to be saved a long time ago. And CPS failed the system all 19 times when they went and did nothing. Those kids could have been saved over 6 months to a year ago if everyone just listened to the petition that was happening, all those people that and the viewers that were able to get this notice enough for CPS to show up at the door. Why didn't they ask to see the children? Why did they not bring the cops and get a warrant and do a well check on those children? Like, what? They do that here in California. Hey, if the neighbors call the cops because somebody's too loud, they'll come to the door and they'll say, what's going on? Who's in the house? Have everybody come outside. We want to see them. And that's just the police department. That's not even CPS. So I don't understand what happened, and why they didn't do their due diligence as a worker that's supposed to protect children. Why did they not do that? What do you think, Mel?
Well, first of all, you as a social worker got 57 cases to one social worker. So they're very understaffed, underpaid, and underappreciated. So we got to give them a little bit of slack. They did the bare minimum, which is it's broken. Our social services, our CPS system has been broken for years. Everybody says that. I mean, I can give you guys an example. My neighbor took in a child, and the child is not in any relations, not a brother, not a sister, not a cousin, not even a distant relative. It's just a friend that they lived next to for maybe a year at the most. And they took that child in because they didn't want that kid to go to CPS, didn't want them to go into foster care because they know how broken the system is. And it's broken. And that's just something that it needs to be addressed. It needs to be revamped. We need a better system. We need a better, we need to pay them more. We need more workers. I know two of my cousins right now. One of them is a head social worker, one of them is a social worker, and I can tell you they have 57 cases in California to one person. So that's 57 families. That's not 57 kids, that's 57 families to one person. And you are required to visit those houses every single day. They're visiting a new house. So by the time they get to number 57, who knows what happened between, it could take a month or 2 months to get to number 57. Who knows what happened in those 2 months to case number one? So it's broken. Our system is broken. So we do got to realize that there needs to be some type of reform done as far as social services. And everybody's been screaming this for years. The foster care system is extremely flawed. It's extremely, some of these foster parents are not in it to help benefit the children. And some of them just use the children as numbers, and it's like a money racket. You get $875 per kid, and then you also get $330 in financial food stamps, and then you get your free medical. So as long as you have the room, you can put 3 kids to a child. A foster parent could be fostering up to 12 kids, and I'm not saying all foster parents are like that. I've met some amazing foster parents, but I've also met some foster parents that are like, how did you even get your hands on these children? Because you have way too many kids, 15 kids to a house. I mean, and it's only one parent or one person watching all these children. Our foster system is broken. Our CPS is broken. Our system is broken. We need to fix that. So I understand what Megan's saying. Like, I agree that it should have been addressed. 19 times is a lot to call, but who knows how many cases this social worker had. And I'm not trying to make excuses for that social worker. I'm not trying to make anything light of this case because it is very traumatic and it's very unfortunate for these children. But on the flip side, I've seen both sides to this story. I know how many cases they have out here. I know how difficult it is. So we got to give some, I'm not going to say credit, but I'm just going to say some leniency towards these workers because we don't know their situation. We don't know if they have 65 cases and they're visiting these kids. You know what I mean? And Maria herself said, yes, I work in the children's systems of care and I get so upset with what they allow to happen. Exactly. Because it's overwhelming. And it's a field that a lot of people don't go into. So a lot of people don't, like, they get their degrees and like, oh, I don't want to go into foster care. And then they don't get paid enough. They're like, I'm definitely not going into foster care. Like, why would I want to do that and get 60 cases, be overworked? It is definitely broken. We need a new system. They need to mandate new orders. They need to mandate new screening. They need to mandate how they pick these foster parents or how they screen them for that. And Samantha Lynn said, yes, I could be a CPS worker, but before I applied, a lot of workers were fired in my area because a child who wasn't taken away from a home had passed away. It scared me to do that job. Exactly, because it falls on the social worker. So you get assigned this case. They went to her house, they checked on the child as best as they could. And now I bet you anything that social worker is majorly under fire because they had 19 complaints. That social worker they did their job at the bare minimum. They didn't do the job to the fullest. But then again, they only had this small window of time to do that. So it's like, when do you stop working? I know for a fact that I've social workers call 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I got to place this child ASAP. You're on call 24/7. So it's like, when does the clock turn off? When do you get that time for yourself? I know everybody's talking about like, you, what's that movement they're doing? Working beyond your pay. I forgot what it's called. It's all over TikTok. I can't think of the word for it, but like, oh, I'm not working anymore. It's 5 o'clock. My day's over. It's not over at 5 o'clock for a social worker. It's not over at 10 o'clock for a social worker. They can be called 24 hours, 7 days a week. Sunday, they could be on vacation and a child gets displaced. They got to place that child. So it's very, very difficult for these social workers. And I really feel for them. I think that they are not appreciated, they're underpaid, they're understaffed, and they definitely, it's broken. Our system is broken. It has been broken for years. It has been broken for a long time. And cases like this are going to keep happening. I know somebody brought up, and I'm trying to go back, I don't know how to do that because I'm very new to here, but somebody brought up the Turnip family. Oh, that one was, ooh. And they were saying that the sisters knew situations were weird and wrong, saw the children, they looked sick and skinny, and she said she did nothing. And that is by Samantha. And then Maria said, I read that the older sister tried to address the issue, but then she isolated away from the family when she was confronted. And that happens a lot in any type of abusive situation where somebody's like, oh, you have a bruise on your face, where did that come from, or are you sure, so then they tend to isolate themselves because they don't want to draw that attention to them and they don't want any more questions thrown to them, so they will isolate themselves. They'll be like, oh, I'm not gonna pick up that call for my sister. So we got to take that into consideration. I understand where Megan's coming from. If anything happened to those boys and Megan was acting out of line, I'd be knocking at her door. I live closer than the sister. I'd be like, I'm taking them, bye. So she knows that she has people in her corner that'll be like, I wouldn't tolerate it. I'd be like, I'm a mandated reporter. Bye, Megan. I'll take your kids. I would take her kids too. So she knows that we're very protective over these children, but not all mothers. Some people can get brainwashed so bad where they're just like, oh, well, they had a great life. You know what I mean? It's shocking to me, but it does happen, guys. It does happen. So I don't know. Like I said, I think eventually this might turn. This whole might turn, and she might go ahead and say, "I was brainwashed. She convinced me she loved me. We were having an affair, and I listened to whatever she said." She might say that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all unfolds. So, yeah.
Oh, hey Jessica. Simply Jessica came in. I've known Jessica for years, and I'm kind of glad she's here because I was going to talk to you guys and bring up a situation. So when it comes to, even like Mel said with the CPS, Jessica and I were neighbors at one point. Actually, her husband was my manager. And it was at a transitional living. I was getting my life together from when I separated from my ex-husband. I don't talk about it a lot on my channel just because I have a shopping channel. I haven't gotten there. I haven't been able to deep dive into certain things that I want to share with people because maybe people are going through the same things or went through the same thing. And because I have been through so much trials and tribulations that I feel like since I was able to heal from it with therapy and with just being a single mom, that now I'm strong enough to be able to give, I don't want to say I can help people, but I'm hoping to give advice of how I did it, and maybe they figure out a way that works for them to help them too. And I hope I'm saying that in a correct manner. I don't want anyone to be offended or anything by that. Um, when I was living there, and my ex-husband would get out of line and stuff, and there was fighting going on. I allowed him back. God only knows why. I tried to make the family work. He was clean and sober for going on a year. So all this happened, right? And I'm like, okay, let me just give it a last shot. So somebody called in that vicinity I lived in, which I know who it was. I've already addressed her, and called CPS on me saying I was hurting my kids. What the heck? Okay, But when they came knocking at my door that one day, they didn't leave. They came right in and talked to all my children, had checked them, their arms, their legs, checked their bodies. I mean, you don't even know, in my own home, because of one person's phone call. Not 19, one person. I'm like, what is going on here? That's why I'm so livid about the 19 calls, nothing getting done. And I understand where Mel's coming from, but I had one call. One call. And they were all in my Kool-Aid, going through my cabinets, making sure I had food. I was crying. I was like, what is going on? I don't even understand. Then they're drug testing me. And I'm like, no problem there. So I was just like, what is going on? Of course, everything was fine. And it had to do with their father, of course, being allowed back in the picture. And that was my fault. But I always believe that people deserve another chance. And I also believe that people can change, because myself, I have changed. And I'm a much better person and have grown from back when I had kids in my very early 20s till now being almost 40. I'm almost there. But that's why I'm so angry, is because they were called all those times and nothing got done, and they called once on me, and they almost destroyed my whole life, you know. And Jessica, to update you on the topic, it's we're talking about the Jody and Frankie, I'm sorry, Ruby, Frankie, and Jody Hildebrandt. They were business partners, with a recent YouTube channel called Crossroads. And Ruby, Frankie, had a channel before with her husband and her children called Eight Passengers. And they were recently arrested because the 12-year-old little boy um, was uh, walking to the neighbor's house, and they found him to be abused, tied up, malnourished. The little 12-year-old asked them to call the police, let them know that there was other people in the house, and it went from there. So that's what's going on right now, and it's this huge topic going on. And those of us who have children like to just talk about it, because this is a big ordeal. This is an issue, and it affects YouTubers on how they've handled their family channels. It affects, our system and what we truly believe is a good system. It's failing us and failing our children. Um, and so that's pretty much where we're at with that, Jessica, to catch you up. But yeah, so that's why I'm so going crazy over that, is I just don't understand. Once this man talked to all the kids, checked my house, came back another 3 times, drug tested me, I don't know how many times. Fine, I don't care. And then talked to my child care provider. And then he's like, there's nothing here. I've done my job, basically. Everything's good. You guys enjoy your life and have a good night. And I'm like, you just disrupted my whole life and put me through all this stress for nothing. And that's another problem. Sometimes they pull children from homes that shouldn't even be pulled, or there's really no evidence. And here they are wasting their time doing this when there's real problems going on that's being neglected. So it's just all really just screwed up.
And
And
this
this
woman
woman
needs
needs
to
to
go
go
to,
to,
well,
well,
she's
she's
in
in
jail.
jail.
She
She
needs
needs
to
to
stay
stay
there.
there.
I think Megan got a newbie. You know how you get your first job and you're super excited and you're like, I got to make an example. I'm going to spend hours like interviewing her and going through her house. I honestly think you got a newbie. Like that's just my opinion. That's my personal opinion. Simply Jessica posted, "Hi, Jessica. But CPS doesn't really do anything. When my husband was the apartment manager, we called CPS on a neighbor who would leave her kids outside for hours with just diapers.
Oh, I
CPS
remember that
didn't do
family.
anything about it." Like I said, I think Megan, she got lucky. Just kidding. She must have gotten somebody who must have got on the job. They want to make a good impression. They were doing really thorough reports. I bet you if you found that CPS worker now, they probably have 72 cases and are just as swamped as anybody else and are doing the bare minimum. Maria posted, "I agree. It's a flawed system." Samantha Lynn said, "It is sad, but it happens." And yes, it is sad. It's very sad. And yes, it does happen. I am curious to see how this all plays out. I believe October 5th, they're going to go for their bail hearing. But from what I've seen on some posts, there's no bail happening. So we'll see how that all unfolds. And guys, just so you guys know, Christina is not feeling well. So she kind of said, "I'm sorry guys, I am super sick." Christina's dealing with some stomach issues, and so she's out for the rest of the night, so you guys are stuck with us.
You guys are stuck with
No,
us.
but we're gonna wrap this up shortly because I'm not used to being on YouTube for more than 25 minutes. Like, I'll post 2 videos and it's
I
been
can
an
keep
hour
talking.
and 45 minutes, guys, and that's a lot for me, like a lot. And it's 9:30. And if you guys don't know, this grandma, yeah, I'm a grandma. Proud of it. 3 grandkids. But wait a minute. Twins. 3. I have 4. Sorry. Okay. But this grandma goes to bed at 8:30 at night. I wake up at 3:45 in the morning. I am such an early bird, but um yeah, so it's 9:30 and I got Veterans Connect tomorrow. So if you guys don't know, I do run a nonprofit. So on top of being a chaplain, I do run a nonprofit. And tomorrow we have Veterans Connect, which is veterans connecting with veterans. And we basically just show love on our veterans, and we have lunch and we have raffle prizes and we just show them the love of Jesus. So that's what I'll be doing tomorrow at noon. So Megan knows that by 10 o'clock, I'm turning into a pumpkin. Like Cinderella, it's time for her to go to bed. And I will let Christina know that you guys all hope she feels better. I'll definitely text her. Megan, you have anything else to say?
Um, I don't have access to the other clips that Christina wanted to show and stuff like that. So unfortunately, I'm not able to do that because I don't have that list that she wanted to talk about with some of the clips that have recently happened with Ruby and what she wanted to show. So she had a really good show planned, and it's unfortunate that we can't continue because without her, we can't show those clips. Um, but I'm glad that we really got to just talk and, you know, state our opinions and, you know, figure out what's going on. I'm excited to see how this all plays out. How this all plays out. Is a family member or the dad going to get the children? Are those two going to be rotten in jail, which I hope? And I mean, I wouldn't be against the dad having the kids right now because nothing's come out at the moment that he was the abuser. He didn't tie them up. He didn't physically hurt them that we know of, you know, and we just need to look at we're mad at him because why didn't he do something sooner? I mean, that's where I'm at with that. But these kids need a lot of love. They need a lot of being held and kissed and just told it's okay and they're going to be all right. They need therapy. They need to be around other children. They have a lot of work. And thank God it didn't happen when they're a little bit older. They could be saved. They can get help. They're always going to have this in their past, but they can get through it with the right treatment. And I really hope that wherever those kids are, that whoever they're with right now is just loving them and just treating them like they're amazing and that those kids are happy. I really do. So, we really are so happy you guys are all here. We're not really a professional podcast team, but we're over here just having fun with it with Christina. And unfortunately, she's gone and she's not feeling well. So I guess are we going to wrap it up and let everybody go? But
Yeah.
hopefully you guys come back.
And just thank you guys so much for joining us. Megan, can you mute yourself for a second? Sorry, because then we have that echo. Echo, echo, echo. I was doing that to Christina, going, hello, hello, hello. I definitely want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in. Maria, yes, it is. Is it 12:30 your time? Oh yeah, I'd be way asleep. It's way past my night time. I'm like, it's time to go night. Even the dogs are looking like at me like, hello, it's time for you to go to sleep. We will revisit this. We're definitely going to be doing more podcasts with Christina. I've enjoyed like just giving you guys our honest opinion. Like I said, this is our opinion. Everything is alleged. I don't want to get in trouble by Papa YT. And I definitely enjoyed talking to each and every one of you guys. You guys are all amazing, and I'm truly blessed to have you guys join us for this podcast. I will let Christina know that you guys are all sending your love and prayers, and just hope she feels better. She's been dealing with this for a while now, so we know she'll feel better. And Maria, we are working on a women type podcast. So you guys will be hearing about that as we continue to grow. I'm excited for that next adventure because we're going to be talking about a lot of womanly, problems that us women go through, especially older women. We got the younger one here. Maybe we can get Simply Jessica to join us about being a mom because she's a young mom. And that's it. You guys definitely hit that notification and subscribe button. This is more or less Christina's main channel where she's going to be posting a lot of her podcasts. So definitely tune into her. She'll be talking to you guys more. We don't have the list. We were supposed to do a Google Doc, but you guys know Megan works full time. I work on my nonprofit and my YouTube channel. So it was hard for us to get that Google document in order, but we'll be better prepared for you guys next time. I'm assuming we'll do this probably next Friday or sometime next week. So like I said, hit that notification and subscribe button. It was really fun, Maria. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you, Jessica, for tuning in, and all of you guys for coming to the chat and joining us. Like I said, hit that notification bell. We'll notify you when we upload new podcasts. And our latest podcast will be coming up, I believe, in January. So you guys stay blessed. I always say that. And I hope you guys are having a fabulous, blessed evening. And yeah, we'll be talking to you guys soon. Thank you for joining us. Bye.
I hope